Clubhouse chatter continues. Here are the guys, Norm and Ty.
That's all right. That's right. Ty Erickson once again in the studio with us. Ty,
thank you.
You hanging with us today?
Yeah, having a blast, man. Great stories about baseball.
All right. So our next guest is a former Kansas City Royal, Toronto Blue Jay, Willie Aikens. Willie, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How about you guys?
We're doing pretty good. It's cold up here in Oregon today. Cold and foggy.
It's cold here too, man.
Yeah? All right. So, first of all, I want to give a shout out to a buddy of mine who I grew up with in Kimberly, Idaho, Mark Borkowski, who hopefully got home in time to watch and listen. Mark was a Kansas City Royals honk growing up as a kid. And we were always doing something baseball related to as young kids, and whether it be collecting baseball cards or throwing the ball around or talking baseball or even watching it. Mark was a big Kansas City Royals honk. And Willie Aikens was one of his guys. UL Washington, Willie Wilson, Frank White. Willie was one of his guys. And Willie, growing up as a kid, Willie, you were one of the premier sluggers in the 70s. And, your career, unfortunately, was cut short. Do you ever wonder, what would have happened if it wasn't cut short?
All the time. I get a chance to hang out with some of my ex-teammates. Last night I was at a fan fest with Frank White and Amos Otis, two guys that I played 4 years with in Kansas City, and we had some great times. And both of those guys are in the Kansas City Royals Hall of Fame. And the year I got traded, 1983, and the year I had my problems being incarcerated for 3 months, I had my best year. I hit over 300. I had 20-something home runs. So I always think about it. I probably wouldn't have got to, I can't go back and change anything that happened, but I look at it, I probably wouldn't have got traded. I probably would have signed a long-term contract with the Kansas City Royals, and I need about 3.5 years to have the minimum 10 years in for my baseball pension. So I look back at my baseball career, and there's no doubt that if I hadn't got involved with drugs and alcohol, I probably would have had a long baseball career with the Kansas City Royals. No doubt about it.
Not only were you a slugger, but you also hit for a fairly high average.
I did, and I couldn't run. The year I hit over 300, I was known as one of the slowest guys in Major League Baseball at one time. So I didn't get any infield hits, and I didn't leg out any hits because of my speed. So I was truly blessed as a tremendous baseball hitter.
You played on some great Kansas City Royals baseball teams. I mean, we're talking, Amos Otis, Frank White, UL Washington, George Brett, and the Freddie Patek. The list goes on and on. What was, in your time in Kansas City, what was the highlight of your career in Kansas City?
What else could it have been except for the 1980 World Series? I was talking to Amos and Frank last night, and they were talking about, 76, 77, and 78 when they played the Yankees.
Right.
And the Yankees beat them.
Yep.
And then I get traded over there in 1979, and we played the Yankees in the playoffs before the 1980 World Series, and we swept those guys. But the first half of 1980 for me was a bad year. I was just coming off knee surgery when I got traded to the Kansas City Royals, and I had a terrible first half in 1980. And then the second half, I caught fire. I ended up hitting 20 home runs, and I drove in almost 100 runs. So going into the playoffs, I was pretty hot. And I had an outstanding series against the Yankees. I think I hit 364, and then on to the World Series. But basically, my whole baseball career is based upon the 1980 World Series when I hit those 4 home runs.
I remember that, and God, you were so likable, playing. I can remember, like I said, my buddy Mark, man. I mean, your baseball card for him was like a highlight, and all the Royals for that, matter, at that time. And I mean, number one, you've got the name Willie Mays Aikens. I mean, with a name like that, you've got to be able to play.
Well, that name, I really don't know where it came from. My mom said I was named Willie after my uncle Willie, and my parents, my mom, she wasn't a baseball fan, and my stepdad, he wasn't in the sports, so there was a doctor in the neighborhood that had the last name of Mays. So I think it was just a coincidence that I had that name, and I became a professional baseball player. But my idol growing up as a kid was Willie Mays.
That's a pretty good idol to have.
Yeah, it is.
And so, I'm sure you've gotten the opportunity to meet Willie.
I never have.
You never have.
It's incredible.
And so,
he's in his 80s.
Yeah.
He's in his 80s right now, and I've never had a chance to meet him.
And he's to this day, he still makes his way around the Giants clubhouse, especially down spring training, if he's able to make it out to Arizona. I grew up a Dale Murphy fan. And so growing up in Idaho, the Atlanta Braves were pretty much the only team we saw on an everyday basis. So I grew up a Dale Murphy fan. And I remember the first time I've met Dale numerous times and have talked with him numerous times. And I remember the very first time that I ever met him, man. I was like a kid at a candy store, But Willie Mays, I mean, it's one of the greatest of all time right there.
Yeah. And I grew up with that name, and most people that have come in contact with me, they think that I was named after him because I became a professional baseball player, but I wasn't named after him. Another guy that I idolized as a kid was Reggie A. Jackson.
Yep.
I used to watch Reggie hit those home runs and how he used to drop his bat and everything. And once I became a big leaguer, or even before that in the minor leagues, I started to do that too. I thought what Reggie was doing was something cool. So recalling the World Series that the fourth home run I hit in the bullpen in Kansas City, I kind of flipped my bat some like a Reggie used to do it.
Let's talk a little bit about your book, Safe at Home. What prompted you to write the book?
Well, in order to have a book, you have to have a whole lot of good, high extremes in your life, and kind of have to have some rock bottom moments too. But during that period, when I was incarcerated for 14 years, a lot of people in prison, they used to say to me, well, you have an interesting story. You need to write a book. And I had plans of doing that anyway. So during those years while I was incarcerated, I used to take notes, a lot of notes. But the book was written mainly because a lot of people, they lost contact with me. When you're gone for 14 years, it's almost like you're off the face of the earth.
Right.
But going through a situation like I went through, another reason I wrote it was to try and inspire and give people hope that are hooked on drugs and alcohol, to give people hope that are incarcerated and that have been incarcerated for a long period of time. And that's one of the reasons why I go around and speak and go to prison and stuff and share my testimony, because a lot of the people that are incarcerated, they have lost everything. They have lost their kids, their family members. They don't have no support. So naturally, when I go in there and let them see how God has blessed my life, it gives them some type of hope that whenever they get a chance to come back to the street, that they can have a good life too.
And you've had a good life afterwards. Now you're coaching in the Kansas City organization. Where are you going to be at this season, by the way?
Surprise, Arizona. I've coached the past a couple of years. I've coached for the Kansas City Royals for 6 years now. 2014, we didn't have a team in Arizona, but I'm in the rookie league. You know, I get a chance to get the guys out of high school and college, and I get a chance to coach some of those Dominicans and Venezolanos who's 16 and 17 years old. I get a chance to talk to them during spring training, extended spring training. I get a chance to share my testimony with those guys. And, you know, I tell them that, you know, my baseball career was cut short because of some of the choices that I made off the baseball field. So I'm a mentor to those kids. And I'm also a hitting instructor. So first and foremost, if I can help some of those guys get to the big leagues as a hitter, more power to it. But most of those guys, they're not going to make it to the big leagues. And the Kansas City Royal organization as a whole treats a character and integrity, dignity. You know, being a good father. Hey, being a good brother.
Yep.
So we let those guys know that their baseball career. Hey, if you make it to the major league, that's a tremendous blessing. But if you don't, you still have a life outside of baseball.
That's a pretty good setup for you, because, you know, going through the experiences that you've had, and now you're getting these young kids coming in who are new to professional baseball, you know, because, man, I mean, that's the dream, to play professional baseball for a lot of kids. And when you get there, it's a shock. It could be a big shock to the system. You know, some of them have signed bonuses worth a lot of money, and now all of a sudden they have that money and they don't know what to do. And having somebody like you with the experience that you've had, I think that's kind of a perfect setup, you know, to set those young players up for success.
Ain't no doubt, and it's a tremendous experience for me too. I've always said that if the organization that I played for had somebody like myself that, you know, came in and talked and spoke to the kids about what happened to them as a baseball player, drugs and alcohol, or whatever else off the field, that might would have opened my eyes up and allowed me to stop doing what I was doing.
Right.
But back when I played, you know, it was wide open. You had players on all the teams that was doing that kind of stuff. So basically, my job right now is a servant to those young kids. And if I can help them get to the big leagues, or if I can help them stay clean and sober, or make good choices off the baseball field, I've done my job.
That's pretty cool. Hey, now didn't you coach in Idaho Falls for a while?
I coached. 2014, we folded the team in Arizona. It was somewhat of an experimental thing, so I was assigned to Idaho Falls, Idaho.
What did you think about Idaho Falls?
I loved it. You know, we missed the playoffs by a couple of games, I think, but I had a great time up there. And the thing was, when I signed in 1975 with the California Angels, Idaho Falls was the California Angels rookie league team.
Really?
They were. I didn't play there, you know. Back then they had a draft in January and June, so I was signed in the January draft. So I went to spring training and I started off in A-ball. But Idaho Falls has been a part of that, the Pioneer League for 50 years, man, at least.
I grew up in the Twin Falls area, so I grew up not too far from Idaho Falls, about hour and 15 minutes. And so I can remember a couple of times as kids we'd go up to Idaho Falls and watch them and stuff like that. But I never knew that they were an Angels. Now, I missed you in El Paso. So my dad was in the Army, and he retired in Fort Bliss, Texas. And so back in 77, I remember going to a ton of Diablo games. In fact, I served as bat boy for like a homestand because of a deal that the Diablos had with the local military families. And so I was honored to it was like 3 or 4 game series or something like that. It was pretty cool. And that was back in, I mean, you were there, I think, the year before. And
1976, yeah.
Yep. So Carney Lansford Carney Lansford was there, and one of my favorites, Floyd Rayford, was there that year. And I'll tell you what, that was a pretty cool experience.
Okay. I had a great time there. You know, the announcer, his name was Paul something. He used to give everybody a nickname.
So,
and back then, they used to have a zoo right behind the outfield wall, and they used to have a elephant out there named Mona. So when I started hitting the home runs, every time I came to the plate, Paul would say, "Wake up, Mona, Willie." they used to call me Ak-Ak. Short for Aikens. So my nickname was Ak-Ak Aikens.
So did they? The one thing I remember about the Diablos was after a player hit a home run, they would they would run around. They would run around the outskirts of the inside of the stadium with the helmet, and they would go around, and people would put money in the batting helmet.
Exactly.
And so that was one of the things I remember about El Paso. And so I don't remember the elephant, but I remember the zoo.
Yeah.
El Paso was a fun place, man.
Yeah, I remember the elephant because it became a household thing for me. I was hitting home runs there. I hit a 30 that year, so that was something I was doing on a regular basis.
And when you were with the Angels, Gene Autry was the owner.
He was.
And talk to us about what do you remember about Gene?
As a Cowboy, you know, before I even signed to be a professional baseball player with the Angels, I used to watch Mr. Autry on TV. You know, he was an actor.
Yep.
And after I signed with the Angels, I got a chance to meet him, and he was very involved with his baseball club. He was one of the owners that cared a lot about his baseball player. So I got a chance to see him. I got a chance to chat with him a few times. But when I got traded to the Kansas City Royals, I was a little disappointed to leave Anaheim, man, because it was a tremendous ballpark to hit in, and I knew then I was going to a ballpark that was tough to hit home runs. But not only that, the Kansas City Royals said they was going to give me a chance to play every day at first base. So that's basically what I was looking for as a baseball player, to get a chance to play every day and do something great.
So 2015, Kansas City Royals win the World Series. What kind of emotions did that bring back for you? Talk to us a little bit about your feelings of winning the World Series again.
Well, it started in 2014.
Yep, when they lost to the Giants.
Yeah, and it brought back memories of the 1980 World Series when we lost to the Philadelphia Phillies. But anytime the World Series come around, you know, my name is mentioned most of the time because I was the first player to have multiple home games in the World Series. I hit 2 in Game 1 and 2 in Game 4 in 1980.
Right.
But just being a part of a major organization like the Kansas City Royals is a tremendous blessing for me, especially after I spent 14 years in prison. How does a person even expect to get a job with the Kansas City Royals after being incarcerated for 14 years? So number one, first of all, is a tremendous blessing that the Glass family, Dayton Moore, and his front office staff even gave me a chance to be a coach with the Kansas City Royals. And secondly, when we made the World Series in 2014 and lost, I think everybody in the organization knew that we had a chance to come back and be in the playoffs again for 2015, because basically we had the same team.
Yep.
And those guys were hungry. And being a coach in the system, hey, you play for everybody. So when we came back and won the World Series in 2015, that was a rarity to be in the World Series back-to-back years. It just doesn't happen.
Right. It was pretty cool. Working with the San Francisco Giants like I have had in the past. Of course, I was rooting for the Giants in 14, but watching the Kansas City Royals took me back to my childhood. It took me back to Kimberly, Idaho, with my buddy Mark Burkowski, watching the Kansas City Royals and him just oogling over the Royals. And, the team, the way the team played was so much like that of that 1980s team. They did it with speed. They had a little bit of pop, pitching. And, it brought back so many wonderful memories. And then, when they won it all in 2015, it was time. It was about time that the Royals had pulled it off again.
Yeah, and, a lot of those guys that won we won it in 2014, they had been together for a long period of time. They played together in the minor leagues. Yeah. We added some additions that got us over the top, but basically that's what winning a championships is about. It become a family environment, and it's a team thing. Everybody is pulling for everybody, and there is love in the atmosphere. I remember that when I came home from the Angels in 1980. George Brett, Amos Otis, Hal McCray, Willie Wilson, Frank White, all those guys, they welcomed me in with open arms. So, I didn't feel like an outsider as a baseball player inside of the clubhouse. The way I struggled the first half of 1980, I felt like an outsider because the fans basically booed me out the ballpark. But I was able to make up for it the second half, and I developed a love relationship with those fans in Kansas City. And even now, as an ex-Kansas City Royal that only played there for 4 years, the fans in Kansas City, they treat me wonderful, outstanding, man.
Well, that's the way it should be. You played for the Royals, so you're royalty. And, really, in the Kansas City Royals, scheme of things. And we had Mark Littell on before you and, former Kansas City Royal as well. And, he had nothing but great things to say about you and working with, the Royals. And so you're going to be in Surprise, Arizona. So when do you take off for spring training?
I'm leaving on the 27th. It's about 18-hour drive, so I drive so I can have my car out there during the course of the summer. So I'll get there on the 28th. I have a 6-year-old, so I have to register her in school. We don't start until the 3rd, so I got to get our housing situation, our housing thing situated. I have to put my 6-year-old in school, so I'll go out there about 4 or 5 days before we get started.
Right. One last question here. So let's talk a little bit about spring training. What is the best part of spring training for you, and what is, you hear a lot of people complain about spring training, some of the players and stuff. So the question is, what is the best part for you for spring training, and what is the worst part?
Well, probably just getting back to work after being off for some months. Get a chance to see those young faces again. Get a chance to help those guys obtain their goals of getting to the next level. I work in the rookie league. I think the rookie league is the most important league of all the leagues, A-ball, AA, AAA, because what you learn in the rookie league, you use for the rest of your baseball career.
Oh, absolutely.
So just having the opportunity to share my testimony, to share my spirituality, to teach those guys something. This is very special because just to be even involved, like I said before, to be even involved and to be a coach with the Kansas City Royals, after where I've come from, is a tremendous blessing, because you have guys out there right now that are trying to seek jobs with major organizations and they can't get one. So I'm just blessed to even be a part of the Kansas City Royals. No?
Well, let's hope that the Royals have a good season. I think, God, they're in that tough AL Central, but anything can happen.
I think the Cleveland Indians is probably a favorite because of their starting rotation, and they just added a tremendous bat to their lineup in Caution at first base. I just saw on the news we just signed Brendan Moss. He's going to probably be DH backup Haas at first base. We lost one of the top starting pitchers in a baseball when Ventura died in that car accident. So that's going to be a hole. That's going to be difficult to fill in our starting rotation. I think we had 4 quality starters before we lost him. So, we just have to see what happens.
What kind of kid was Ventura? I know you had worked with him for a while, and you saw what he was like on TV. You saw that he had some emotions. I mean, he is very emotional when he pitches, and so he was not afraid. He didn't back down from anybody. What kind of kid was he?
Well, I got a chance to see him when he was a teenager. My first time I saw him, I think, was 2011, doing the extended spring training. My wife had a stroke in 2011, so I didn't get a chance to go out to spring training in March. I reported late. So when I got there and extended, Ventura was there, and he was doing a bullpen session or something. I remember hearing this loud sound, and I turned around, and this guy weighs about 140, 150 pounds, real skinny, and throwing the daylights out of the baseball. And it was just going everywhere. And I was talking to one of the Spanish coaches, and he was like, man, Willie, this guy, he played over in the Dominican last year, but he don't have no idea where the baseball is going. But coaches are able to work with players like that. I knew right then that this kid had been given something special. Mm-hmm. And that eventually, if he watched himself and worked hard, he was going to have a chance to get to the big leagues. And myself, as an American, I have a special relationship with those Latinos because I can communicate with them. I'm bilingual. I speak English and Spanish. And as a coach, communication is your number one connection with any baseball player. And the things that I can communicate with the Americans, I can communicate with the Latinos. So I had a relationship with Ventura. We used to talk, and everybody, they have flaws and stuff like that. He had this competitive edge to him after he got to the big leagues that kind of showed off. But hey, he had become a tremendous pitcher, a tremendous workhorse, and he was a very, very important part of the Kansas City Royals rotation. And they're going to miss that kid. I'm going to miss that kid, and the whole baseball world is going to miss that kid. And not only that, the people of the Dominican Republic.
He definitely will be missed. And, I'll tell you what, that day was tough. I mean, I remember, first, seeing about Andy Marte coming across. And, of course, I've known Andy for a while. And then, not even, it couldn't even been more than maybe 15 minutes later than you're hearing about him. And, definitely a big loss. The Royals are miss him. And, and sometimes that translates into, the team playing above and beyond. And, maybe that's the case for the Royals. You got the Indians, and they're probably, the favorite in that American League Central. But, I think the Royals have a little something more to play for this year.
Yeah, and we just had a fan fest here Friday and Saturday, and had a memorial for Giordano and the fans. You know, everybody is excited, and the Kansas City Royals are donating this season. They're playing this year in memory of Ventura.
Right.
And it can give those guys some extra motivation to go out and play harder. And the nucleus of the team for the Kansas City Royals that won the championship are still there. Mustakas, Hosmer, Perez, Escobar, Herrera, Lorenzo Cain, Alec Jordan. Those guys are still there. So we just have to go out and perform out on the baseball field. If we can find another starting pitcher or whatever, I think the Kansas City Royals are going to be competing for the American League A championship again.
Oh yeah, I don't see why not. Hey, once again, Mr. Willie Mays Aiken. Willie, so where can we find your book, Safe at Home? Can we pick it up on Amazon or what?
There are copies on Amazon, but I wouldn't advise people to go there. They can if they want to, but if you want to get an autographed copy, you got to come to me. I'm on Facebook and Twitter, and I also have a website.
Okay.
Willie Aikens24.com. WillieAikens24.com, and my email is aikenwillie24@yahoo.com. So, hey, it's been a pleasure. In the future, I'm hoping that my book eventually will become a movie, and people are not only get a chance to read about Safe at Home, but they get a chance to see it up on the big screen.
All right, so I'm going to steal one from Ty, who asked Nate Boyer earlier. So, if there's a movie made, who do you want to play you?
I don't know yet. We probably will have to get somebody that's kind of young, maybe in their late 20s or early 30s, because all that part about me in my book is going to have to be portrayed. So you can always a young actor make them look older, but it's tough to make a old actor look younger. So, hey, I don't right now. I don't have a favorite who's going to do it. I'm just hoping that maybe one day that it'll get done. So my story will be told to the whole world.
I hope so, because you have a story of success here. You know, I mean, you know, and you're right. You know, who in the world would give, you know, somebody a chance after being incarcerated, and then, you know, here you are working for the Kansas City Royals organization, which is a world-class organization, and you know, that's success right there. You've done well.
And like I said before, it starts at the top with the Glass family. You know, Dayton Moore, he's a Christian and a tremendous human being. And I give all respect and honor to Dayton Moore, the Glass family, for even allowing me to have a chance to be with this organization. But once again, you know, God has touched some hearts, and it's straight in line with the higher power. It's a spiritual thing. I truly believe that.
Yeah. All right, hey, let's do this again sometime soon. We'll catch you after the baseball season.
Okay, Norm. Nice talking to you, brother.
All right. Hey, thank you very much.
Care.
Once again, Mr. Willie Mays Aiken. And so, man, a blast from my childhood right there. That's kind of cool. You know, I remember the Willie Mays Aikens and cards, and I remember 1980, the playoffs. And I remember it because of a teacher who we used to have. His name was George Arosa, Mr. Arosa. He's still alive. And he was an Oakland A's fan. And so every once in a while, he would sneak us into the auditorium, and we'd watch baseballs back when the playoff games were day games. And so I remember, you know, one of those days, the A's had already been eliminated, and it was the Royals and Phillies in the World Series. And I remember watching a little bit of that at school, and of course at home. And yeah, I mean, I remember 1980. Mark Burkowski, we we completed, okay, this is crazy. We completed 2 baseball card sets in one summer. One for him and one for me. And we had done it by working our butts off, mowing lawns for neighbors, doing odd jobs, and saving up the money. It was back when you could actually get like 5 packs for $1. And we would go to Stout Supermarket, and they would sell us the boxes. And so we'd buy like 2 or 3 boxes at a time because you get them for like $15. And so they're fairly inexpensive.
You still have the set?
I do have the set, not that same set. I do have that set, but it's not the one that we collected.
Okay.
But yes, I do have the set, and I'm sure Mark has held on to his. I hope he's held on to his. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Was
that the '79 season set?
This was the 82. I believe it was the 82 Fleer set, 81 or 82 Fleer set. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but I think it was the 81-82 set. And so, I remember it took us forever, and I think I was the last one. He completed it before I did. And then, it came down to one card. I can't even remember who that one card was, and we ended up getting it, and that was a good time.
I imagine you had a ton of duplicates and triples of some of those.
Right now, my collection stands at about 300,000 baseball cards.
Man.
So what I do with my doubles is I pass them on to kids. Send them over to Israel. I send them to Uganda, or I get kids locally. I put up on a free on the Facebook post. Hey, I got some baseball cards. Come in and take them. Get your kids started. And so that's what I do with all my doubles now.
That's great. And there's some similar concepts that they do in Europe to get players interested still with kids. They'll hand them out as tokens for doing something good in a practice or at a camp. And at the end, they can either keep those cards that oftentimes are players that these kids have never heard of and never will hear of again. They can trade it in towards something like a jersey or a hat from a team, major league team. Or in Munich, we would use those as the ticket for your food order, so that the next order would be, for example, Willie Aikens.
Right.
One order for Willie coming up.
Well, it's nice to know, because now I know. Now I've got another outlet for my doubles, and so we'll have to figure out how we're going to get them shipped over to you when you get back over there.
That sounds good.
Get them, and so I'm all for doing stuff like that. And believe me, I have tons of doubles.
Yeah, that's 300,000. Do you know how many different players' cards you have?
So the way I collect all my cards are alphabetized. So I go by last name. And so I currently have 20, 24, 25, 5,000 count boxes. And then like I said, my doubles go in other boxes and they get passed along. And so right now I collect to autograph. And so like Willie Aikens, so I'll go through and I'll find like 4 Willie Aikens cards. Or if I know them personally, like Brett Butler, I'll just send whatever I have of Brett Butler. So Brett's actually autographed like, I think one time I sent him like 150 cards and he signed them all. And
really?
And then the doubles of those I pass out to kids and stuff like that. I keep one of every card, and then the doubles I pass out and hand out. And so I probably right now, Brian, I brought that box in, didn't I show you one time?
Mm-hmm. The autographs?
Yeah. I think I'm pushing 3,500, 4,000 autographed cards right now.
That's
and
wild.
So see, for me, that's a business card. Like if I had Ty Erickson cards, if I had you sign it, okay, I met Ty Erickson.
Yeah.
Are there any Ty Erickson cards out there?
There were cards for the Israel Baseball League. I couldn't tell you if I made it on.
You don't have one.
I don't have one. Oh. If somebody knows of one, I'd love to know.
We gotta do some searching.
It's already started.
Peter, I need to get some of those Israeli baseball cards. That'd be a cool collection to add to my collection. So, wow, Ty, this has been fun.
It has been. This, guys, again, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to talk to you guys.
You know, I'm excited to follow you, continue to follow you. And so one question I have for you is I want
Sure.
to know about the honk ball.
Honk ball. Okay.
The honk ball tournament over in the Netherlands.
Which one? There's two. There's Harlem Honk Ball Week,
Right.
which I have some bad news about.
It's not happening.
Yeah, they pulled the plug on it. Yeah.
And so for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been hearing all about that.
Yeah, it's a major international tournament.
Yes.
Japan, America will send a team. Cuba. It's a big deal. So for a tournament of that stature, which has played such a role in growing the game abroad, to not be continued is certainly bad news.
Well, so why did they pull the plug on it? Sponsorships, or
I think financial is
too
the main
bad.
reason. You know, they have a beautiful park out there in Harlem, beautiful small city.
Mm-hmm.
But they still have the World Port Tournament. As far as I know, I haven't heard any updates about that. They alternate years,
Right.
So hopefully the tournament in Rotterdam will still be going on.
Being a kid from Oregon, playing at Willamette University, and now with all your world travels, do you ever just kind of sit back and just look back at what you've done and all the places that you've played in, and you're like, holy cow?
Absolutely.
Because you are so blessed. This is what I would like to do. You know, not necessarily on the coach's level. I like to promote. I could promote like no other.
Yeah.
And, you know, to travel to all these different countries and to do what you love to do, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not something that I was planning on doing. You know, growing up, my uncle, Jim Wilson, also an Oregon guy, played at Oregon State and in the Cleveland Indians and Seattle Mariners organizations. I loved baseball growing up, but as soon as I had the opportunity to travel, that's what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to pursue a baseball career, to be honest.
Right.
I wanted to live in Europe. So after graduating from college, I packed my bags and moved to Munich and found a job. And I'd played in Israel and in Germany before that, but I wasn't really aware of the scene. And the more I played, the more connections I made. You talk about all the guys you know. I think probably half of my Facebook friends are guys that I've met through European baseball.
Yeah.
Whether Americans or Australians or Asians coming over to Europe to play, or locals. You know, being on kind of the baseball frontier. It's still growing. In a lot of these countries, they don't have the opportunity to even get baseball equipment. This past fall, I was planning to spend the winter coaching in Australia. So I quit my job and I was packing up my apartment. I had 3 large baseball bags of just random equipment, you know, shirts and hats from camps that I've worked. And, you know, what am I going to do with all this stuff? And put up a post, and someone from the Romanian Baseball Federation reached out and said, I'll have someone there to pick it up tomorrow.
Wow.
And, you know, having an opportunity to be in kind of like the Wild West of baseball, where, you know, anything goes, it's exciting, it's fun. I get to pursue my passion for travel as well, and I got sucked back into baseball. It's been fun.
You need to carry a camera with you, video all this. I mean, this is a TV show.
Well, I got to make a plug for a couple people now. There are people doing tremendous things in European baseball. Wim van den Hurk, the father of Rick van den Hurk, who's a Dutch player, former major leaguer. He does great things in European baseball. And another one is David Burns, a Canadian that's based in Austria, with his website, Baseball Jobs Overseas. So if any of your listeners or their siblings or kids are looking to play baseball in Europe or in Australia, David Burns and Baseball Jobs Overseas does a tremendous job of bringing together clubs that are looking for college and professional baseball players looking to travel. And a couple of them, Jim Jensen and Max McNabb, they've been playing in Europe, and they're currently in Australia right now. And they do that with the video camera, filming their travels. And, sometimes it's a clip of an Australian Baseball League game where Max has been a terrific pitcher this year. And sometimes it's, traveling down the Gold Coast and going snorkeling and jumping off cliffs. And we are in such a fortunate position. None of us are going to get rich or famous off of our baseball careers.
Right.
But the life experiences that we gain in this international baseball community, kind of being bums around the world, just taking the game wherever it takes us, it's life-changing. You hear so many stories about guys that have their eyes opened to the world socially because of their baseball experience in small town Europe.
Yeah. What a life.
Yeah, it is.
What a life.
It is.
And, we do Clubhouse Chatter. Do it for the love of the game. I mean, honestly, it's amazing. Baseball is one big family.
Yeah.
As you know. And, the connections are amazing. There are people that you and I are connected to, same people. I'd like to hook up with this David Burns and talk to him a little bit about what he does. And, I mean, that's kind of cool.
That's a good person to talk to.
I wish I would have found all this at a younger age, instead of going to work in minor league professional baseball as an older. If I was 19 and I found this, holy cow. Back then you had no clue.
There was no internet.
Yeah, exactly.
People were sharing their home videos on the web.
And going to work in baseball, I mean, it's really, honestly, a simple thing. You just got to have that passion and find the right organization, team to go work for. And, and I've told people this many times. They ask me, well, how did you get involved? I'm like, I started at Salem Kaiser, shooting video. Next thing I know, I'm a clubhouse manager. And, well, how did you do that? I'm like, Lancaster Jethawks was looking for a clubhouse manager. I applied. They hired me a week later.
Yeah.
Sight unseen, and that's how I got rolling in it. And
just kind of jump in with both feet.
Absolutely.
Take that risk.
If
you enjoy it.
And then, then the connections are made. And Clubhouse Chatter is how I kind of stay in the mix with the whole thing. And, I look at it, as we're trying to help grow the game internationally, by not just having, the American athlete, but, people like yourself who play overseas and, a lot of the Israel baseball guys. And, I would love nothing. This is a world game. Not only is this America's pastime, but let me ask you a question. Well, I'm going to put this point out there for you.
Okay.
The United States has never won a World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
Okay, we are supposed to be the best at baseball here in America, but we have not won a World Baseball Classic yet.
But there's a lot of business decisions and politics.
There's a lot of factors involved with that, yes. But, baseball is a worldwide game. Most of your Latino countries, your Asian countries in the United States, we play it, but now it's starting to grow. Mm-hmm. It's starting to grow in other countries. We had Dmitry Sogchek on here a while back, and he was talking about, growing the game in Eastern Bloc Europe.
Yeah.
And I'm all for that, because baseball has given me something special. And, I would like to share that with the world, and it's giving you something special, and you're sharing that with others.
Trying.
Have you came across Dmitry, by the way?
No, I haven't. That's a new name. I know some guys from Poland, especially. Right. There's a lot of Polish guys that try to play in Germany. Played against them in the B pool, or coached against them rather in the B pool in Vienna last year. But no, where's he based out of?
He's based out of New Jersey now.
Okay.
And so he's Russian.
Okay.
And so he was the first Russian-born baseball coach here in the United States.
Huh.
Coach at junior college in New Jersey. and so he's trying to grow it in Eastern Europe, and so he's got a long ways to go. That's a tough sell.
It is.
It's a tough sell in Germany. Anywhere you got soccer, baseball is going to be a tough sell.
Absolutely.
A lot of places their number 2 sport is basketball. And so
oftentimes baseball is, down around 10th on the list behind volleyball,
absolutely,
or field hockey,
water polo, or whatever. Yeah. And you go to have you ever seen the Finnish play baseball? Their version of it.
I have. I've seen the
Holy
videos
cow,
where
that's
the bases
crazy.
are in a different order and they're running zigzag around the field.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, we'd like to pass on, our baseball cards. When I get some doubles, I'll let you know, and we'll figure out a way to get them to you, and you could disperse them however you can, and we'll add you to the list. And,
awesome.
So, once again, thanks for coming on the show. This has been a good time. And Brian, you got anything?
I'm just sitting there listening.
All right, Brian, here we go.
Awesome.
Hey, so we're in a new year. All right.
Yes, we are.
So let's go. We're gonna go 90s music. That way Ty can play along.
Yeah, now I can play along.
So we're gonna go. What do we show? All right, five of your favorite songs from 90s music.
5 different genres? Or we can
It doesn't matter.
This out,
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Concentrate. Okay.
All right. Dixie Chicks.
I knew you were gonna go.
Wide Open Spaces.
Okay, I knew you were going there. I'm gonna go. Nirvana.
Oh.
Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Now, I don't find this embarrassing at all.
Oh, don't worry. I threw out the Dixie Chicks. Go for it.
Backstreet Boys. I want it that way.
Ooh,
He may have stepped over the line there.
that's okay.
Bye. Backstreet Boys? Right one? Okay.
Close enough.
All right.
It was one of those boy bands.
Yeah.
All right,
98 degrees, something like that.
98 degrees in the house.
Let's see. How about The Cure?
Oh,
I'm trying to think of a good song of The Cure, though.
Fascination Street.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Girlfriend in a Coma?
Smiths.
Oh, Smith. Okay. We'll do that next time.
I'm going to go. Oh, man. Talking about Smiths. I'm going to go. Where's My Mind? The Pixies.
Ooh. It's funny how certain songs continue to make an impact over different generations.
Yes.
And I think that's a perfect example that
Yep.
reaches a different generation.
They're
a
going
different
on
era.
tour this year, and they skipped the Northwest. Them bastards.
Why?
I don't know. He's from Frank Black lives in this area, so come on, Frank.
That's maybe why he skipped it.
I used to go to a lot of concerts here in the Northwest. The first concert, the biggest concert, the one that sticks in my mind was Green Day playing at the Big Stink. You guys remember that concert
Yes,
series?
94.7.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
been to a few of those.
That was, and I guess they finished with an acoustic version of Time of Your Life. So that's my next song.
We've actually had Pork Chop, who was a 94.7 guy. Yes, we've had him on the show.
Really?
And so, yeah, and I still talk to Marconi from time to time. I know a few of those guys. And, yeah. Oh, all right, Brian.
Well, if we're going to talk about concerts a little bit, I'm going to have my best concert, which 2 of my favorite groups.
Not the Jets.
Oh, no. Not, even though that was great. Senior year in high school at McNary. They came and played at our high school. Beastie Boys.
Yes.
They opened up for Run DMC at the Memorial Coliseum in 1986.
We have talked about this one numerous times.
Yeah. So there you go. Anything Beastie Boys, but probably going to go with My Adidas.
Yeah.
DMC.
My Adidas.
All right. Wow. That's that was a good one.
Well, I like Beastie Boys and Run DMC.
That was a good one. All right, so I'm going to go a little bit obscure. And I'm going to go the Melvins. Yes, it's that pretty obscure. But I'm going to go with anything by Mother Love Bone.
Oh, no. I don't know what to say. That's all I got.
All right, last round here.
Do you guys remember when Deion Sanders put out an album, Primetime?
Yes.
It's my first CD.
Oh my gosh.
I had tapes before then, but Deion Sanders.
First CD. That's awesome.
Deion Sanders was my first CD.
Here's one. You've probably never heard of these guys. Mojo Nixon and Skid Roper. Debbie Gibson's Pregnant with My Two-Headed Love Child's the name of the song. I could go with Stuff and Martha's Muffin, but that's a different story.
Mojo, along that line, okay, I'm going to go with the Dead Milkmen.
There you go.
With Mojo Nixon.
Hey, this is all stuff I played over at Linfield, KSLC, yeah,
Dead
whatever.
Milkmen.
That station.
Yes.
You're trying to scare people off?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, it's college. You're experimenting with music. And
that's a good sell then.
Yeah, there you go.
I got that. Oh, man.
For the tip in, it's tie. No pressure.
90s music.
I'm just sad that, some of those, can't think of her name, right tip of my tongue right now. Not Debbie Gibson, the 80s, but
Tiffany.
90s. Well, the 90s version. Who am I thinking of?
Paula Abdul?
No, that's a good one, though, too.
That's good.
She's on kind of a case right now. I forget it.
Kind of a case.
A basket case.
Well, they're all basket cases.
Yeah, I think if you were a musician in the 90s, you're
Yeah,
a basket
that's
case.
true.
Now.
That's-
If you're still alive, you're a basket case.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
Has 2 kids. Blonde. Britney Spears.
Oh.
We haven't even come up with I don't know why I couldn't think of it.
Yeah, that kind of
Britney Spears.
definitely
Trying to help you
sums
out.
up the 90s.
Yeah, scarily, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything by 98 Degrees, though.
Sorry to steal your thunder.
There is an inside joke to the 98
Oh,
Degrees, and
no.
I'll fill you in after we're off the air.
All right.
Ty's like going, oh my gosh, these guys are crazy.
This must be a really bad story if it can't be on the air.
It's awesome. Oh, it could be. All right, it could be on the air. All right, here we go.
Oh no! Wait, we're almost an hour in.
That's fine. So here we go. So
12:35.
So 98 Degrees. So anytime you'll see a 9-inning know-it-all reference or a Clubhouse reference to 98 Degrees, it's about a guy named Justin Lackey. And when I first met him, he came to work for the Salem Kaiser Volcanoes. And so he took over the social media for the Volcanoes. And so one day on Facebook, he was like, hey guys, let's give everybody nicknames. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you've got a boy band name, so I'm going to call you 98 Degrees. He got mad. Messages me. He goes, here's my number. We need to call. I need to talk to you. Call me. So I called him, and he is pissed. I'm like, what? I'm like, you wanted a nickname. I called you 98 Degrees. Well, why? Because you got a boy band nickname, Justin Lachey, right? Well, it's Lackey. I'm like, all right, it still sticks. It still sticks. So every time he came into Volcano Stadium, because he's like, it has something to do with the Volcanoes, and every time he comes in the stadium, I always found I was working security, and so I knew he was in the stadium, so I would text everybody that we were working with in the stadium, 98 Degrees is in the house. And so one time, Michael Trevino played a 98 Degrees song in the background. Of course, it went over his head, but everybody else knew. And so I'm watching over the stadium one day, and Jerry Walker, the Volcanoes owner, comes up to me, and he goes, we need to talk. And so he sits down. He goes, so what's this? Why don't you like Justin? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, Justin's been telling me that you hate him. I'm like, no. I'm like, is this over his nickname? He was like, what nickname? I said, well, I call him 98 Degrees. He's like, why? And I told him, and Mr. Walker started laughing. He goes, are you kidding me? I'm like, no. Boy band last name. We were talking nicknames. I gave him 98 Degrees, and he was like, yeah, just try to be friendly to him. And so Justin Lackey, so that's where that 98 Degrees comes from. And Justin's an interesting guy. He's a nice guy. He'll approach me and he'll talk to us, but he's a little off his rocker, a little bit off. And he kind of sets himself up a little bit. So he takes batting practice once a year with the Volcanoes, and he keeps track of his batting practice stats. And so what he does is he'll make a baseball card. No joke. I have a baseball card of Justin Lackey with his batting practice stats on the back.
Oh, man. And he gets away with this?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think he's... It sure seems to me that he's autistic in some way.
Okay.
By the way he comes off. Because, I mean, he's just so I don't know. He has a hard time with people, I think. I mean, nice guy. I haven't talked to him in a while, but he does, some things, kind of tries to copy us, doesn't he, Brian? In some ways. And, we've found some things, hey, check this out, and stuff that we have done. And so,
Okay.
If he's listening, hey, I don't hate you, and it's all in good fun. And
nothing wrong with 98 Degrees.
98 Degrees, there were successful boy bands, so there's no hate here. So that's the story about 98 Degrees. With that said, we are sponsored by Baseballisms.com. If you like the shirt and the hat, you can find it at Baseballisms.com. Baseball Dudes, BaseballDudes.com. Chris Gazelle. Mark Canham, Mitch Canham, building an athlete sports education based by pros, Mitch Canham. And his dad, Mark Canham, does our shirts, MDM Designs. Check them out. And we stream live every time we're on, yamhilltoday.com. And if you want to shoot me a message, send me a hate mail, whatever, normbo18@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, Clubhouse Chatter 1T, Facebook, YouTube, iTunes. Just do a Google search, and you'll find Clubhouse Chatter. Ty, thanks for coming on again.
Gentlemen.
And next time you're in the stateside, let's do this again.
Sounds good.
All right, Brian, until next week.
Peace.
All right, we'll see you guys later.